the owners have gone back to quality, and there's some great players around. We have some great players in Atletico Mohunbagan. You saw it last year. Our player from Australia, how good he was and what an impact he had on the tournament. What an impact Garcia had on the tournament. Roy Krishna, I keep forgetting his name. Roy Krishna, Garcia had on that. The Indian players have developed. I always believed in sport. When you play with somebody, when you play with players who are above your standard goes to that level. And it's the other way around as well. When you play with players who are below your ability drops as well. And I think that's what ISL has done. The quality of overseas have been fantastic. If you remember, there was an overseas player for Chennai 3 or 4 years ago, the fantastic left footer who went on to play in the English Premier League after that. I can't remember his name, but he just set the ISL on fire with his skill and with his ability of the left foot. Chennai won that year based on his
Mendoza.
Mendoza, on his powerful football skills, and that's how it is. You saw how Roy Krishna played for Atletico last year. He was phenomenal. You could see the standards. You could see the difference in his ability as a football player, and that actually rubs off to the Indian players. That's why I believe that the quality has improved enormously, and with time it's only going to improve, because India is a big country. India is a country where everybody has their eyes on, and you'll see in the years to come even greater players come and play the ISL, which will be a great news for football in India.
Excellent, Dada. Since you mentioned Steven Mendoza, he went on to play for New York City FC, I think straight after he finished his stint with the ISL. But yeah, absolute phenomenal player. He scored the winner for Chennai against FC Goa at Fotord. I can never forget those scenes. Hopefully that should answer Abhinav Bhattacharya's and Abhinav's question about the quality and an improvement of football in ISL over the years. I'll take another fan question, Dada, which comes from Chandan Biswas. Since you mentioned Mendoza and Roy Krishna, who is your favorite player in the ISL, and any Indian youngster you think who possibly stands out for you in your memory, who could play in Europe maybe someday?
I think I have had quite a few favorite players in the ISL. I keep forgetting his name.
You can pick 3 if you want.
Yeah, I think Mendoza was one. I like Roy Krishna a lot. There was a Dutch player who played for Kerala Blasters and then came to play for us. I thought he was fantastic. I keep forgetting his name, and I'll tell you his name very shortly. He played for Atletico.
Okay. Yes.
He played for Atletico. He lived in England. He lived in England and played in England, but he's actually Dutch.
Okay. I'm hoping some of the fans can help us out. A Dutch player who played for Kerala and then
or maybe I'm wrong. He's an English player, played in the English leagues. I'll tell you.
Pearson? Was it Stephen Pearson?
No, not Stephen Pearson.
Okay.
He didn't have much hair on his. He didn't have hair at all on his head, and he played for Atletico for a season. For 2 seasons, and was part of one of the winning years. We got him from Kerala. He started with Kerala, and then we got him to Atletico. So I'll be able to help you.
Stumped me there. I'm trying to think.
I'll be able to help you with the name very shortly. And I think he was one of my favorites. We had some. Atletico had some great players. Bora Fernandez in the previous years was very, very good. He controlled the centre half line for Atletico and was with us for 4 years till he left. I think we're talking about Ian Hume.
Ian Hume, Canadian.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, absolutely.
Canadian. He came from Kerala and played for us a season and was outstanding. So the name is Ian Hume. I don't know who is he playing for this year. But
no, not anymore. He was with us in our studios, and he'll remain the highest goal scorer for ATK, because now ATK have become ATK Mohunbagan. So whoever scores the first goal for them tomorrow, hopefully from your point of view, will not be able to break his record anymore.
Ian Hume was one of my favorites as well.
Absolutely, certainly one of mine as well, and Bora Fernandez, up there with the best. So fabulous players indeed. Okay, I'll move to another question, which is. Your favorite football team from EPL, since we're talking so much football, and that comes from Prachit, since we're talking about English Premier League and leagues around the world.
Yeah, my favorite football team is Manchester United. that team will be favorite for a lot of people. You know, I grew a lot of affection and attachment to Manchester United from my days of playing for Lancashire. I used to live just on the opposite footpath of Old Trafford. When I played a season for Lancashire for 6 months, I was there in England, and I used to go and watch every Saturday that football game, and I could see that light, that Manchester United Football Club light, from my balcony of where I lived. So I got attached to it. Last year also, when I was in England during the winter, I went and saw a game in freezing temperatures. So they're one of my favorites. They're not at their best at the moment, yeah, but that's how that happens in sport. They've dominated football for such a long period of time under the regime of Alex Ferguson. I thought they would recover. They recovered a bit under Solskjaer last year, but just dipped again this year, and hopefully they'll pick up. But that's with great sides. You know, you go through a phase of rebuilding, because all of us only keep thinking of those great days of that club. But sport is about the present. You know, past is past. Past gives you a rich heritage, but your performance in the current situation decides how good a team you are for that season. So hopefully they will recover. Hopefully under Solskjaer they will get back to where they were. I think the owners, the board needs to be a bit more patient with the club. I just feel over the years there have been too many changes, because everybody thinks about what Alex Ferguson has done. You know, people like Alex Ferguson are once in a lifetime appointments with clubs, and you don't expect everyone to just match the standard straight away. So they have been one of my favorite clubs, and hopefully they can get back on track.
Here's hoping, and I'm sure you've made a lot of Manchester United fans watching this very, very happy by revealing your favorite club in the English Premier League. But since we're speaking of history and legacy, there's no greater history and legacy in Indian football, without the mention of ATK Mohunbagan and East Bengal. So your thoughts on the expansion of the league, Dada, and the impact that the addition of Mohunbagan and East Bengal will have before we come to the Kolkata derby questions.
Oh, they're a huge addition to the league. They're historical clubs. They have amazing fan following. You see the Salt Lake Stadium just go berserk when East Bengal and Mohunbagan play this year. I know they won't play at the Salt Lake Stadium. They'll play in Goa on the 27th. I presume that it's a closed-door tournament this year for the ISL.
Yes.
The people will not understand the buzz till they actually see East Bengal Mohunbagan play at the Salt Lake Stadium. Hopefully next year, because the pandemic will be hopefully over by then, under a full crowd and 100,000 people. It's electric. I have played cricket matches with 100,000 people. I remember we beating Australia at Eden Gardens on that famous test match in 2001, and there were 125,000 people watching that game on the last day of a test match. There was no T20 those days in 2001, so people would wait for test matches. And I think East Bengal Mohunbagan is going to have the same attraction, same competitiveness, and same fan following when they play the next season at the Salt Lake Stadium. This year also, I'm telling you, keep watching the TRPs in the television world when both clash against each other on the 27th.
I love it. I love how you remember the date as well. Your personal experience and memories of the Kolkata derby. Do you have a favorite derby or any unrivaled atmosphere that you have in mind?
Huge. It used to be a festival when the day East Bengal played Mohunbagan, it normally used to be on a Saturday, starting at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. It used to be at Eden Gardens initially. I used to go and watch with my father, because that ground was basically used for cricket those days and for the big derbies. I never watched much of them sitting at the Juba Bharati Kridangan and Salt Lake, but then by then television had also become very, 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 very prominent. So you saw those live matches on TV, but you cannot imagine the atmosphere. The city used to be just engrossed in an East Bengal Mohunbagan game. And I'm talking about when? Mid-80s?
Mid-80s.
Around,
early 90s, yeah.
Yeah, 84, 85 to even 95. Till I started playing cricket for India, not one seat used to be empty. That green and maroon and that red and gold was an unbelievable sight on a football ground. They had some great players during that era. They used to have players from overseas. Majid Bhaskar was one of my favorites who played for East Bengal. Tremendous amount of skill. The local lads were unbelievable. Prashun, Prashanto, Bidesh, Manoj, Subroto Bhattacharya. Torun, some of those have actually played for their clubs for 18, 19 years. They've never shifted base. Someone like Subroto Bhattacharya,
one club
played 17 years for MohunBagan Athletic Club. Nobody could even take them away to any other club. It's just how the attachment was. Then there was Manoranjan Bhattacharya from East Bengal. He used to be a defender. He also spent his lifetime in that red and gold. So there were attachments, there were passion, they got fans in, and the owners, they would give their lives for those two clubs. No money, they wouldn't make a penny out of it. Tickets were 5 rupees, 2 rupees, 3 rupees during that era to watch football. But you should have seen the excitement and the attachment of people. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to ask you about the significance and symbolism of things like Chingri and Ilish. How the price of one of these two skyrockets every time, depending on the outcome of the derby. Have you had personal experiences of that as well? Or maybe somebody in romance?
Yeah. Absolutely, we've had. It used to be on a Saturday, so it used to be a day off from work. And people would go in the morning, buy that fish, have malai curry and hilsa curry, and get ready for the football in the afternoon. So it was picnic and it was carnival. It was carnival in the city. I've seen a Man United game live many a number of times, and you wouldn't realize that it's a Man United game. When would the crowd come in? When would the crowd leave the stadium? Because the organization is so good. But an East Bengal Mohunbagan game, you knew it was something. There would be trucks, people loaded on trucks coming from various districts of West Bengal, wearing their jerseys, screaming, shouting. The game would start at 3 o'clock in the ground, but off the ground, the game would start 48 hours ago. With placards, with festoons, with the colors being spread all over the city, with threats, and with perceptions that who's going to win, what's going to be the number of goals, and then you should see the reactions at the end of the day. Whichever club lost was as if life has come to an end. They wouldn't leave the club premises for hours after that. They would sit on the road in front, demanding explanation that why we got beaten and how we are going to get better in the next game. The attachment was unbelievable.
I can't wait for the derby on the 27th. Absolutely. I mean, I had the chance to do a few Durand Cup games last year where Gokulam Kerala were up against East Bengal and Mohunbagan, and the atmosphere is absolutely fantastic. We'll miss it this time, but it's a game where heroes are born. I remember Baichung Bhutia's famous hat-trick in the 5-0 win against Mohunbagan. Barreto's had the penchant to always score, come up with important goals in the derby. If you were to pick one of your more recent heroes or people you really admired amongst these guys, since I was a kid growing up in the 90s, who would they be?
I think Baichung had a lot of impact. Baichung had a great impact on the derby. Majid Baskar had a great impact on the derby. Barreto had a great impact on the derby. Chima Okeri of Mohunbagan, when I was growing up, he had a great impact on the derby. He was fit, strong. They played their lives in this city, and they've stayed back in this city after that. They haven't gone back to their country except Majid Baskar, who probably has gone back to Iran. But some of them have just made this city their home with their families, and they still live with that football. I used to actually train with some of them when I played cricket. I used to train with Baichung. I've seen Chima Okeri train. People talk about 6-packs, 7-packs now. 20 years ago, he had as much as anybody in this business, anybody on a sports field. Fit, strong, sit up, the fitness culture. I've seen them very, very closely, and it was a great sight. And for me, the passion was just unreal. And a lot of people say that, what is it about Kolkata football? For me, the first word which came was passion and attachment, and that remained forever.